Everyone treats the Switch 2 like a party machine, co-op, multiplayer, game nights. So let's flip it. This is a lineup built for one player, just you, a world, and a whole lot of hours to fall into. For 12 years Into the Dead was a mobile, endless runner. You sprinted away from zombies and never looked back. Now, out of nowhere, that same series has grown into this grim little survival game. It drops you into Texas, 1980, in a coastal town called Walton that's already buckling under a heat wave and an economic collapse when the outbreak hits. You shepherd a handful of ordinary people through a dead city toward the way out, crafting weapons from scrap, picking houses clean for food and medicine, and keeping the group from cracking up. And death here is permanent. It's a 2.5D side-scroller, and people are already comparing it to This War of Mine and State of Decay, which tells you it leans on hard choices over action. It's still in early access on PC though, and that's where I'd pump the brakes. There's no firm Switch 2 date, just 2026, and how the console handles it is anyone's guess. But if the early word holds up, this mobile franchise has quietly grown a spine.
You have been born as a winged one of the seas, like many more before you.
Now dive underwater and jump 65 million years into the future. In Glaciered, Earth has frozen into one giant sheet of ice, life has retreated beneath the surface, and down there under the glaciers a whole new civilization has bloomed. You play as Twee, one of the Twi, an intelligent race descended from birds, heirs to the dinosaurs, and you fight off sea creatures in genuine hand-to-hand combat, which for an underwater game sounds wonderfully strange. Visually, it sits somewhere between Subnautica and Maneater, only with an indie Japanese soul, since the studio took its cues from the ecosystems of Hokkaido. The devs are promising ray tracing, DLSS, and 8K textures on the main characters, and that's exactly the part that worries me. Words like that about Switch 2 hardware need real tests behind them, not a press release.
I want you to chase them down. No. The water and the vibrations.
Switch 2 is finally getting a big open-world racer, with a fat asterisk attached. The Crew Motorfest whisks you off to the Hawaiian island of Oahu, where you tear around in cars, bikes, boats, and even planes across themed playlists built on different corners of car culture. It's had more than 10 million players since 2023. The content's been topped up season by season, and Ubisoft says nothing gets cut for the Switch 2 version. There's just one problem, and it's a big one. The game demands a constant online connection, even in handheld. For a console people buy to play on the move, that's almost insulting. And the memory of the original The Crew getting its servers shut off in 2024, turning discs into landfill, doesn't help the trust issue. Maestro is a postcard from the Wii era, arriving about 14 years late. You step up to the podium in a Parisian opera house, take a Joy-Con in each hand, and conduct a real symphony orchestra with your gestures. One hand keeping tempo, the other cueing sections and shaping the dynamics. It was born in VR, where it walked off with Meta's Game of the Year and a pile of glowing reviews. And now it's been rebuilt for a flat screen with a fresh camera and reworked hand animation. The setlist runs past 35 pieces, from classical giants to film scores like Duel of the Fates and the Game of Thrones theme, plus an Attack on Titan track thrown in for Nintendo players. It's a charming, family-friendly thing, but I've got one sober question. Rhythm games live and die on responsiveness, and without VR tracking, it all rests on how accurately the Joy-Cons read your gestures and whether the frame rate holds.
Promised land.
From the opera pit straight into plague-ridden Europe, Nested Lands is a medieval survival game set during the Black Death. You start with nothing and slowly rebuild a village, fending off bandits, plague outbreaks, and the twisted things the sickness leaves behind. The clever touch is in the small stuff. You're watching not just your supplies, but your character's sanity and personal hygiene. And the world reacts to your decisions, so the settlement takes on a life of its own. It's published by Meta Publishing, an offshoot of Owlcat, the Pathfinder and Rogue Trader people, which buys the RPG side a little more trust than usual. But let's be straight about platforms. It's already in early access on PC, while the Switch and Switch 2 versions are only promised for the full launch, with no date, just 2026. Survival games on Switch are always an optimization gamble, and until we see it actually running on the console, I'd keep expectations on a short leash.
The swords cut deep, but the plague cuts deeper than so.
Ravaged by a mysterious villain and his terrifying goons, the fate of its citizens...
Disney epic Mickey Rebrushed is a perfect excuse to ask how many times one game can be sold to you. First, there was the 2010 original on Wii, then in 2024 came the Rebrushed remake on a new engine, and now that very same remake is heading to Switch 2. The story's unchanged. Mickey and his magic brushland and wasteland, a realm of forgotten Disney characters ruled over by Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and with paint and thinner you either mend the place or tear it apart, which is where the branching comes from. The Switch 2 version promises higher resolution, a steadier frame rate, mouse-style controls through the Joy-Con, and a bundled costume DLC pack. Sounds fine, except the upgrades here are mostly cosmetic, and the genuinely annoying part is that THQ Nordic still hasn't said whether Switch owners can move up for free or have to pay all over again. Take Death Stranding, swap the courier's boots for a horse, and haul the whole thing off to 13th century Mongolia. That's roughly the Legend of Khiimori. You play Nara, a young relay courier hauling cargo and messages across a huge open steppe where there isn't a single road. You plot your own route by map and instinct. The heart of it isn't the delivery, it's the bond with your horse. You breed them, tame them, and train them, and the animal's behavior and animation are done with rare care on Unreal Engine 5. It pulled in nearly $700,000 on Kickstarter against a modest goal, so the faithful clearly believe in it. But those three words, open world on UE5, always sound like trouble on Switch 2. And since the game's still only in early access on PC, the console version is a way off yet. Falcom's president Toshihiro Kondo didn't mince words. Not remaking Trails in the Sky. SC simply wasn't an option. Fans would never have forgiven them, because this is the entry the community treats as the peak of the whole Sky arc. And now, it's coming to consoles. Second chapter picks up on the exact cruel cliffhanger the first game left you on. Joshua whispers his "Goodbye, Estelle," vanishes into the night, and Estelle sets off with his harmonica across the kingdom of Liberal to find him, running headlong into the Shadow Society Ouroboros along the way. The combat is still turn-based on a tactical grid with orbments, only now fully in 3D, and you can carry your save over from the first game for bonuses. Now that's a statement of intent. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 is that brutal third-person shooter where you play Lieutenant Titus, a towering Space Marine grinding hundreds of Tyranid creatures on screen at once into paste. And the game's whole reputation is built on those massive swarms. And this is the beast Saber Interactive is promising to squeeze onto Switch 2. You can run the campaign solo. It's a proper story-driven single-player experience, or take it on with two others in co-op, or dive into the separate PvP and PvE modes. especially now that 2 years of free content have fattened the game up and pulled in over 12 million players. There's exactly one question, and it's a huge one: how those swarms are going to look and hold their frame rate on portable hardware.
We will cover your approach.
Let's close the list with a game people waited on for an absurdly long time. Mewgenics was dreamed up by Edmund Macmillan, the mind behind The Binding of Isaac and Super Meat Boy, all the way back in 2012 as his follow-up to Meat Boy. And then it died in development hell, got cancelled, was bought back by its creator in 2018, and restarted with programmer Tyler Glale. 13 years passed between the reveal and the release. And the payoff. On PC, it launched this winter and turned into a monster hit. 1 million copies in a week. Its budget earned back in 3 hours, and a peak player count higher than Hades 2. At its core, it's a tactical RPG crossed with a roguelike and a cat breeding sim. You crossbreed cats, they inherit classes and mutations, and you send them into turn-based fights on procedural grids, all wrapped in Macmillan's trademark pitch-black humor.
On a cat, then that cat gets all fat. Not too sure what's up with that.